Okay, so I'm not even going to do intros and outros at all, period. But I did hear last week there was a little political debate banter that the dude, I know I talked about him like 2, 3 times on the channel. I think I only did one video on him ever. I think he's one of Kai Sanat's or Aisho Speed's friends, sneko. Sneko, that guy. Yeah, I know. I know he's one of the Muslim, Arabic, Middle Eastern people. He has his own beliefs, ideologies, faiths, morals, values, and all the sciencey pseudo stuff he believes in. That some of the shit. I'm not gonna lie. To a certain extent, I do agree with. Some of the shit, I disagree with him on, though. I mean, he's a 22, 23-year-old young kid. He's a grown-ass adult. Don't get me wrong. But he's still a young-ass kid compared to me, almost 36-year-old man. I heard this drama news pop off really, absolutely cataclysmically fast. And this dude, Charles White, MoistCritikal, Penguin Zero, whatever he even goes by, he has so many different aliases. I know he's a young man. I know he's almost in his 30s. He's going to be 30 pretty soon, so he kind of knows what's up. It says the MoistCritikal Zero Penguins situation's crazy. I think I know what he's going to talk about. One of the things I know is going to be about sneko, and it's going to be about something else, because I saw a channel I haven't talked about in a very long time. I try not to because he has like 2 million subscribers, but a dude named The Quartering, aka Jeremy Hamblin, I saw like a video post on his Twitter, because occasionally on Twitter I follow him once in a while. I don't follow his YouTube stuff anymore because he goes just like the far left extremist shit. He goes on the far right Republican conservative stuff where I disagree with a little bit, because he's kind of like how Joey B. Tunes is. No offense to him and The Quartering. No offense to anyone he got Quartering fans out here. Jeremy Hamblin. I know he gets on this hardcore political like rage bait sort of like got him like grifter sort of shit. I get it. He's got to get the bag, get the coin, go for it. He's a 40-year-old man. He's way older than mine, so he knows what he's doing. But 3, 2, 1, let's go in. Let's see how he responds to all this drama, because some people were saying he was defending diddlers, child diddlers, and all this other shit. So no offense to any, if I have any MoistCritikal Penguin Zero, like, you know, Mudahar, even Mudahar and Caleb, Upaville, I have any younger kid subscribers or Gen Zers that look up to this dude like he's a Jesus Christ God, like he's Keanu Reeves. To me personally, he just does a lot of comedy stuff. Some of it's funny as fuck. Some of the shit, this dude Charles White, I think that's his real name. Some of the stuff he does is funny. Some of the shit, and like I said before, I said it like 2, 3 times on this channel. When he makes fun of a lot of tinfoil hat conspiracy theory shit, like saying, "Oh, it's the deep state. Oh, the UFOs and Black World's gonna take over everything." I did a dry comedy sit humor, and when he does all these stupid little fucking like things, when he makes fun of truth or alternative media people shit, like my boy Richie from Boston, KJ Osborne, Jacob Israel, that's the part I disagree with him on a little bit. I don't have any hatred or animosity towards the dude. The dude got almost 16 million subscribers, a billion times bigger channel than mine. But 3, 2, 1, let's just go. Let's see how he responds to the drama.
Evans to Betsy, what a week, huh, sports fans? Holy Toledo. Yeah, so MoistCritikal is in a big oopsie-poopsie situation here. It reminds me of the time in Moonfall when KC Houseman sacrifices himself and dies of cringe to become the moon. Yeah, so, being serious now, since this has become such a big issue, I've been in a lot of drama recently. I'm in hot water, and I'm biting on the fart bubbles that pop up in the bathtub here. It is a lot. So let's start with the most recent one today. My retirement. I didn't know I was retiring. That's news to me. I'm as shocked as all of you are. I had a ton of fun last night playing a game called Clickleding, which is basically...
What the heck is he retiring? I ain't hear nothing about that. Unless he's just being sarcastic. I know, like, it's a little bit smarky piece of shit douchebag motherfucker this guy likes to be sometimes. And this is like how I was saying with Asmongold, too. If he says some shit that I'm probably going to end up unsubscribing to forever, I'll unsubscribe. I'm sorry. I'm a grown-ass man that this dude is. I'm just saying. I might have 1,000,000% subscribers or 16 million plus subscribers and a nice fancy car and have my own freaking OF fans shit, or I might not have a big time freaking gamer sub sponsorship or a big giant Twitch and YouTube following. Like, most of them are younger ass kids and college students. I probably follow them at the most. Maybe 27, 28 might be the oldest people I follow him. I follow him occasionally, just once in a while, see what he's going to say about drama news on Twitch or drama news about TikTok or drama news on Instagram. And some things, this is a perfectly good example here. A few of the things I remember he said in the past, I really didn't fucking like what he said. I don't go when a dude kiss this dude's ass or suck this guy's dick or anything. I'm just saying. I know he's got a shit ton of sponsorships, advertisers up the wazoo. This guy has a shit ton of clout, and clout's a hell of a drug, but It was only a matter of time. I thought it'd be 2025 when somebody was trying to cancel the man, the myth, the legend himself. And like I said, I like some of his dry comedy sketch humor shit. The only things I don't like that much when he gets all these SpongeBob, Naruto, Dragon Ball Z references and all that, and he makes little like comedic pop cultural stuff like that. It's kind of, no offense to MoistCritikal fans, don't jump on my throat on this. The same shit I said in my Osmo. He ends up being nihilistic, narcissistic, or any of this other stuff, like he doesn't believe in God or any of this. I'm probably never watching this dude's videos again. I'm sorry. But I'm just going to hear him out for the benefit of it. Because I know Sneko, that dude, he's a mega huge asshole piece of shit. Because he was on that dude Fresh and Fit's channel a couple times too. And on Rumble, on top of that. I got nothing wrong with Rumble, but it's a lot of political debatable banter shit that happens. But let's move on.
A cuckoldry simulator, but for clicking against like the Lorax in a hotel room. And I just did like an old school gameplay commentary video. I was bubbly, full of jubilation. I posted it today only to learn that I'm just a big old fucking liar. Liar, liar, plants for hire, I suppose. Apparently, and I didn't know
stuff like that, the SpongeBob references, and that's kind of cringe. Like, come on, bro. Give it a break.
This until I posted the video. Everyone was under the impression that I was quitting the internet. So I started scratching at the hair on my chinny chin chin, wondering, when the fuck did that happen? Was I sleepwalking? Do I have somnambulism? Is this some kind of, like, Fight Club situation? But instead of, like, Tyler Durden, I have fucking Charles Turden here that's just making wrong announcements. It turns out the patient zero behind all of this was a post Jackson made announcing that I would be leaving the podcasts, which is something I thought about periodically for quite a few months now, mainly because I started to recognize that I was becoming the very thing I'd make fun of with being chronically online. Like, I just was always online, and the podcasts were a big proponent of that, and I just kind of wanted to scale back the amount of time I spend online, and I kept Jackson in the loop the whole time here about where my head was at, and last week I told him, hey man, I think this is going to be where I hang up the jersey, you can put it in the rafters, throw it in the dumpster, but I think I'm just going to be, sailing off into the sunset here and just reducing the amount of stuff I do online, which he completely understood. So he made the announcement just letting people know that, and then that got spun on Twitter and Reddit as MoistCritikal taking an indefinite hiatus and quitting the internet fundamentally.
I can't believe everything Twitter, Reddit, and 4chan say either, I'm just saying.
When I'll be back, he's done with the internet because of all this controversy. Patooey on his grave, he's gone.
Looking at
the post, I don't even know where that's coming from. It's literally just talking about the podcast and me just stepping away. Like, it doesn't extend beyond that. I can't even wrap my tiny noodle around how anyone could perceive this as me being done with the internet entirely, but that's the story that they ran with, and that's what most people saw, not the actual post. So everyone thought I was quitting the internet, so I posted that video that I was really happy with because it just felt like an OG old school video that made me happy, and then bang! Just a flood of comments and dislikes all saying shit like, how could you fucking deceive us? I thought you quit, huh? What happened to leaving, huh? I just read this post on Twitter from an account that had a profile pic of titties photoshopped onto Thomas Edison that said you were done, and it had 50,000 likes, so I know it was true, and you're just a fucking liar. I can't even just peacefully walk away from some projects without it being a massive fucking reaction over actual nothing burger information. And trust me, no one has
That wasn't nothing burger. From some of the comments I've read, there's other videos from before, like last week and earlier this week. Yeah, he got a fuck ton of backlash from people, like, really, no offense to far-right conservatives, Republican people out there, but they really got on his ass big time for this. I remember one of the videos I saw on Twitter. The other two I never saw.
Palate more refined for nothing
That's the
burger
reason I wanted to react to this.
Than me. I have ranted about the stupidest shit of all time, but this was mind-boggling even for me. So to set the record straight, no, I'm not retiring, despite what the experts are telling you. All I did was walk away from a couple of projects. That's really it. Like, that's a pretty normal thing to do, especially when one of them I've been doing for, 8 years. I really didn't think it was that deep, especially not deep enough for how big of a story it's become with all of the wild narratives running around about the true reason that I stopped doing it. So let's get into that drama. I've talked about it on stream, I don't even know how many times at this point, but we'll just talk about all of it in this video here. So, when covering the Ava...
I don't watch any of his live streams or his podcasts, so I don't follow him that hardcore like that. I just watch a couple of his videos, a handful of his videos, here and there occasionally, and that's it. I don't follow the whole entire lore of this man. Charles White, MoistCritikal. The first time I heard about him was 2018 or 19 when he said, oh, I was in a role of an unknown soldier in the Hunger Games Catching Fire 2. That's the first time I heard about him. That one, and then Onision, the Onion Boy, Gregory Jackson, and he lost his shit. That wasn't even that long ago. It was almost less than 5 years ago, 4.5 years ago, in 2019. So that was a while. It wasn't too long ago. So I'll hear him out, see what he's got to say more about this. See if this was a serious severity situation, misjudgment that he did, where he's in the right of it or in the wrong of it. And I'll give my full, armchair thoughts, views, and opinions about it at the end. Who knows?
Tyson situation. I was attacked by a lot of people for not being quick enough. Even though I covered it within like the first 6 hours, people were unsatisfied that I hadn't made a video within like the first fucking 20 minutes of it dropping. And then when I did finally finish the full video covering all of it, it was another massive problem where now I only did it out of an obligation because people called me out. And then I also got accused of being a transphobe because I didn't use Ava Tyson's preferred pronouns, which were she, her. I didn't know that. I thought just calling Ava...
Oh, that whole Mr. Beast Ava Chris Tyson situation. Ooh, shit. I know I did a video on it. By the time you guys even see a video about that, it'll probably be Friday or Saturday this week. But by the time you guys watching, it's probably Saturday night or Sunday. Links down below if you didn't see it already. But oh, that's a jamble of a mess. I don't want to talk about it again. I already did a whole video. Links to description box if you want to see it, or in the card titles.
Tyson by her name was okay, and I had also heard when I went to the Mr. Beast thing, someone refer to Ava Tyson with they. So I was truly under the impression that that was okay. And for that, I was annihilated by a good chunk of Twitter. And then annihilated by another good chunk of Twitter because I called out Sneko, who was the main proponent, about me covering for Mr. Beast to keep the collab alive.
That's when I heard about this crazy news drama shit happening a couple days ago.
I wasn't talking about Ava Tyson because I wanted the Mr. Beast collab. And I talked about how absurd that statement was, especially given his history with fighting against the age of consent. He's been very vocal about how much he hates the age of consent, and so I talked about that briefly at the end of the video, which then changed the whole narrative for a lot of people where I never talked about Ava Tyson and only talked about Sneko. So it was a complete lose-lose, because if I didn't talk about what Sneko was saying, I would have been called a coward for not addressing it and talking about, like, well, he was going to cover for Mr. Beast until Sneko called him out. So, like, if I didn't do it, I would have been attacked. I did do it, still got attacked. It really was unwinnable. But from that spawned a conversation where I talked to Sneko directly, because he was very upset that I was talking about how him rallying against the age of consent is pedophile arguments, like defending pedophilia. As I've said, since the very beginning of this channel, I'm always willing to engage with people I disagree with, and I thought that maybe there was a chance I misunderstood what he was trying to say, even though it's still abhorrent. I thought, okay, maybe he's not actually trying to defend pedophilia, he's like some kind of pseudo-intellectual debate bro who's trying to say something else, so I was willing to hear him out on it, and I talked to him in DMs, and he said he doesn't believe in the age of consent, he believes in the age of marriage, can't assign a number to it, but said that when someone can legally drive, they should be able to marry at the same...
You guys can read all that part on your own. That's why I'm playing at 125 speed. I'm not even going to get into the whole Tumblr, Twitter, DM shit drama. That's a whole other sack of words I don't want to get into.
In time, which is literally like a 15 or 16-year-old, because you get your permanent 15, your license is 16, and both are way too young to be marrying. That shit is completely unacceptable. It is downright disgusting. He then said that he was happy to discuss it in a call, which I said I was willing to hear him out on, and he said that he would do it later because he was outside doing an IRL stream in Turkey. So I was willing to hear him out because, again, if this is some kind of crazy misunderstanding, I'd like to know that, because it'd be really fucking scary for someone in his position with his level of influence to be actually advocating for adults marrying and fucking children. That's a huge problem. That's a big fucking problem. So if there was something that he was, like, trying to say but failing to do so, I was willing to at least hear it. And this is where the infamous debate came from. The debate that people are calling the debate of the century. I'm kidding, not a single soul on the planet said that. It's actually one of the most dogshit debates I think human beings have ever had. He eventually called me on Discord. I was under the impression this was just him and I talking. I had no idea this was going to be a debate. I thought he was going to try and explain himself like, hey, no, this isn't actually what I meant. This is what I'm trying to say. I thought this was a conversation between him and I, not this kind of debate show that he was putting on for his audience. There is nothing in our DMs that indicated that's where it was going. When I joined the call, he asked if I was going to record it, to which I said, I can if he wants me to, but I was also down to just talk. So I thought maybe he wanted it as a recording to, like, explain to people, like, no, he's not actually a pedophile defender or advocating for that kind of thing. So I thought that is why he asked. I didn't know it was because it was being streamed, especially because one of his last DMs was about how he's doing an outside IRL stream and he would call me after. To me, that says when he's done streaming, that's when we'll talk, not as a part of his stream. I didn't know this was a debate nor a stream until about an hour and 40 into it, roughly somewhere in that ballpark. I am not a debater. I've never...
Yeah, he should have kind of had a feeling, a vibe that Sneko was going to, like, try to honeypot him into certain things. I'm not defending his side, but I'm not defending Sneko's either side. I don't know any of these two people, influencers IRL, this kick streamer Rumble dude, or this YouTuber IRL. Never met them, never had a conversation or a beer, or smoked a little bit of weed marihuanos with them. Never kicked it with any of these people, so I don't know them personally IRL, but a lot of their thing is a lot about financial gain and a gotcha moment. Their sponsorships and advertisers. They pretend and act, some of them act and pretend. And no hate towards MoistCritikal. Maybe he does give a shit about his fans. Maybe they're like, you know, his internet family to them. I don't know. Parasocial relationship stuff. And that sort of case. But I don't know them IRL. I can't make misjudgments on them. But the content of character is what I look for, a person. Like, their heart and their soul, they're a good person or a bad, evil, scumbag, piece of shit, bigoted, racist person. I don't know. That's it.
Claim to be one. I never want to be a debater. I've always said that I believe conversations are the most productive because debates always devolve into what side can score the most points by explaining their thought process, even if the position is wrong. Whereas a conversation is a very different thing to me. So I didn't even know that's what this was. So, obviously, I was unprepared for a fucking debate. So I entered into the Thunderdome and we started talking. I made it clear that I found his statements on the age of consent and children marrying adults being fucking hideous. Absolutely revolting. And then he started arguing about, well, what is a child? We must define a child, it's not actually being under 18, it's all a bunch of hooey. And I really think if you have to start arguing about, well, what technically is a child, you're already way too far gone. Like, that is so fucking weird. And in no uncertain terms, multiple times throughout the debate, Sneko says that he is okay with people that are aged 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, marrying adults that are 18 or older. There are talking globally. Let's just talk globally. Like, do you think it is okay for, I'm not talking about just you specifically anymore, anyone. Do you think it's okay for anyone?
I didn't see any of this one here. The second one I remember seeing, though.
In their 20s, an adult, to marry a 15 or 16-year-old.
A 21-year-old, if there was a marriage where the father consented and the daughter consented, and it was both good on both families and they wanted to do it, why am I going to get involved? Why should we get the government involved?
Even get back a little bit. Do you think there's not a problem with a child being with an adult?
Okay. We haven't even agreed upon what a child and an adult is. You keep saying that it's 18.
Under 18.
That's
child.
And I'm telling you, that's not even the definition of the word.
What is the number? It needs to be a number, or else you can do the same thing.
I just told you there's not a number.
But do you see why that's a problem?
No.
If there's no defined... So why can't a 12-year-old marry an 18-year-old?
Because most 12-year-olds haven't gone through puberty yet. And most 12-year-olds...
As you just said, it changes. What if a 12-year-old went through puberty early, the parents consent, the 18-year-old and the parents consent? Can they do it?
Most likely that's not going to happen. You know why? Because Islamically...
If we're not talking most likely, just say it.
If the families have consented, the kid is mature, the kid is ready... Why should I stop
At 12 years old. At 12 years old.
If the kid is physically mature, the parents consent, both parties are happy.
A 12-year-old being physically mature.
If that's the only line that actually makes sense.
And I don't think a 14-year-old can ever be physically mature.
Yeah, that shit starts getting way complex when you start adding religion and politics towards your certain worldview of stuff. That's when it gets murky and muddy in the fucking waters there. I don't like that shit at all. Because when you add like the Prophet Muhammad, no offense to anyone, any of you guys are Muslim or Islamic or Arab, Middle Eastern, West Indian, you practice that thing. I'm sorry, I grew up as a Christian evangelical. I practice a few of the things. I still try to read the Bibles, try to go to Saturday and Sunday school occasionally. Not all the time. Once or twice out the month. Occasionally I go to church occasionally, where I go to. I still believe the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, and all that other stuff too. I grew up with that thing. Big time. My grandparents, especially on my old man's side. My dad's side, especially on his fucking side. They are really, really hardcore Bible belt thumper motherfuckers. I'm not like that. Because as you can tell, I still use occasional profanity, obscenity, vulgarity. And it's sometimes, I lust over women occasionally. I know that already. Sometimes. IRL, I do it, but I'm a lot more controlling about that compared to before. Because nowadays, either I look at NSFW shit or R34 occasionally. Straight prom. That's all. That's all I look at occasionally. Once in a while. So I'm not a hardcore badass like Christian, like hard left, far right, conservative, Republican, country and God. And I don't worship the flag. I'm not patriotics, anything either. But at the same time, I don't hate the country and nation I live in either. I'm glad. Thankful as hell I was born and raised in the country I was raised in. Granted, I did deal with a little bit of R-word bigotry, racism to certain whites. Not even just to certain white people, too. Some black people were racist as fuck to me, too. As crazy as it was. Crazy stuff, but true.
Even though they literally can. Even though puberty actually defines that. It's fine.
I don't believe so. I was 14 once. But I actually had a mustache when I was 14. Would you have looked at me and said I was physically mature enough to get married?
If you were physically mature, if you were mature, yes, I would. Okay.
Really?
If you're 14, yeah. If you were 14 and you were ready to go, and you met another 14-year-old, yes, I would.
No. We're talking adults. You keep going back to that.
That is adult.
I meant
I told you my definition. I told you the definition. The definition. Okay. If you went through puberty, you're an adult. That's the definition of adult. So yes, if you're an adult and you had a mustache, you're ready to get married, fine. Okay.
Unironically saying a 14-year-old adult, I think would make most sensible people want to puke. There's so many instances of this, and a lot of the conversation was spent with him talking about, like, overseas age of consent, like talking about how Japan's age of consent was 13 for the longest time, this and that. And
other regions and nations and other places, they got their own different rules, rules, and regulations. compared to what the United States and Canada has.
The whole thing was like pulling teeth, and it was fucking painful. And I think it's extremely alarming perspective to have. Unironically, calling a 14-year-old and 12-year-old mature enough for a marriage, those are middle schoolers. Like, holy shit. I think that is extremely concerning to be advocating for something like that. Like, would Sneko be okay if his best friend ended up marrying a 14-year-old? He certainly shouldn't be. No one should be okay with something like that. Like, that's fucking terrible. That is actually terrible. But now, since I wasn't, like, holding him to this topic or making sure it stayed on the topic I thought we were talking about, it went all over the place with a ton of different things. But the big one, and this is what most people have focused on, which was my response to his question about kids transitioning. And the way he would pose that question would be by asking if I thought it was okay if kids who want to switch their gender go to the doctor and get their dick cut off. Is it okay if
I think this is the one I might have saw the first 3 seconds of on Twitter, but I'm going to slow this one down a little bit.
9-year-old goes to a doctor and gets their cock cut off right then and there? And when posed with that question, I replied with yes. And I've talked about this on stream many, many times now, and I'll talk about it again here. I thought he was talking in hyperbole. I thought he was just exaggerating, being over the top, talking about the entire subject of transitioning. I had no idea that any living, breathing human being actually thought that that's how transitioning works, where you just go into a doctor saying, I feel like switching genders, and they lay you down on the operating table and just snip your whole fucking meat off. I didn't know that that's what he actually believed. I didn't know he was speaking literally. I thought he was just referring to the entire process of transitioning and just using this over-the-top statement to encapsulate all of it. Because you literally cannot get that surgery unless you are 18. Like, you actually have to go out of your way to be that stupid on the topic than you would just spending a couple of seconds looking it up. There are very rare cases where someone under 18 has had that surgery performed. That's not common. So I really didn't think that someone could be so dumb on the topic. I thought he was just speaking in hyperbole, which is my mistake. I should have been more clear instead of making an assumption that he was
talking. Manned up and owned his mistakes. Good job, Charlie. I'll agree with you on that. I'll give you a little golf clap for that one.
Talking about something nuanced in an over-the-top way. I haven't hid this take, and it's not a new take from me. I've talked about this a couple times throughout the years on stream. I have no complaints if a kid gets interested in transitioning and starts talking to their family about it. So their parents start talking to doctors, the kid starts talking to doctors and therapists and all of this, because the process of transitioning is one that takes place over the course of many years. It's not something that just happens like that. And I'm also not afraid to admit that I am not the most educated when it comes to transitioning. I am not someone that has a ton of knowledge about the subject to be speaking on it in a really in-depth manner. But even I know these very surface level things that everyone has easy access to understand. It is a long process. And I have no problems at all if a kid gets interested in that process and starts going through that process with proper care. And then when they reach the age where they can consider that surgery and decide they want to do it, then that's all power to them. That's entirely up to them. They have reached that age. They can now do that surgery if they want to. That is not a surgery that's being offered to like a 9-year-old who just says, I feel like changing genders today. It's just not how it works. And I didn't think that that's what was actually being discussed because it's so fucking silly. Now, I'm sure there's some really fringe cases you can point to where that kind of thing did happen, but it's not common. Thus, I didn't think that's what was being referred to in the conversation. And it is, again, my mistake for not recognizing that at that moment, it was being spoken about literally. So all that shit that people keep dogpiling and spouting about me about how I want all kids to go out there and get their genitals chopped off is just fucked up. Like, it's so ridiculous. I recognize I did a horrible job of arguing in this debate, which isn't surprising considering I don't debate. This is not something that's in my skill set, which of course led to some embarrassingly dog shit arguments. Like the one I've seen people reference a couple times is when I briefly mentioned sports in this topic. It was a stupid point to try and make. I was getting hit by like some rebound psychic damage listening to some of the drivel brain rot that Sneko was spouting about the age of consent. And I don't know why I thought this was like an argument to try and make, but I brought up sports in this subject and I was going to try and elaborate on it, but didn't at all. What I was going to try and say is that when a kid gets interested in a sport, they'll talk to their parents about it, they'll research the sport, go through the process of learning about it. And when it comes to transitioning, it's still a process where you talk to your family about it, you learn about it. Like, it was it wasn't a point where I was trying to say, well, changing genders is a lot like picking between baseball and soccer. Like, it's not what I was trying to get at, but because I didn't elaborate on it and it really wasn't a good argument to try and make in the first place, that's one people have harped on a lot. And I get it. Like I said, I am not a debater. Like, I didn't go in here expecting a debate. So I had nothing prepared here for this inundation of outrageous questions and tangents. Like, there was a point where Sneko was trying to get me to say white power. Like, the whole thing was a fucking mess. It was, without a doubt, probably the worst debate that video has ever been cursed with. And I really regret not doing a better job here. It's not something I should have even done in the first place. I just have a tendency to really hope for the best out of people, and I was really hoping that I and most people were wrong about Sneko's perspective on the age of consent. However, unfortunately, it doesn't appear to be the case. He was very adamant about this position, and I did a terrible job in arguing with him, and I did a terrible job of articulating my beliefs. I am supportive of the LGBTQ+, and I have been, and that's not something I've been shy about. I just wish I did a better job of expressing.
That's something I could do in a whole other separate video, but I don't want to. Because I don't even know if there's people in the LGBTQI+. I highly doubt in the gender, non-binary, trans community, but they might end up watching my video and they're subscribed to me and they're going to lose a sub. So, just saying. I got to be extremely... I got to be walking on eggshells, walking on glass when it comes to that, especially with the YouTube algorithm here. Also, that shit's ran in San Francisco and San Marino, California. I think it was San Eldo or whatever it was called.
That.
Careful with that.
To be open and honest here, and I've talked about this a lot, I've always treated my channel kind of like a diary for myself, which is why I just talk about so much different nonsense and so many things that I know a lot of people don't give a fuck about, but some of it's fun for me to talk about.
Half of them don't give a fuck about. Half the shit the channels that he says, some of the copy says, I'll give a shit about occasionally, and other times, I'll just skip it through, because I really don't give a rat's ass too much about it. It's not really for my age demographic, obviously. Agreed again.
Some of it's just things I care about. So being totally honest, I used to treat the internet as an escape from my dog shit real life. Truly unhappy, really hated most of everything about myself, and the internet was my escape from it. But now it's really become that real life is the escapism for me now. Like, I love posting and creating things, but I don't like interacting with the internet around me anymore. And it's something that I started to realize a couple months ago, and I've talked about it on stream a little bit, how because I've covered so many like drama stories and everything, it's pretty much all that I ever get told about when I'm streaming, and it's become such a massive headache, and it's just constant negativity that I'm fully flooded with, like, at all hours. Like, I am in like this human centipede of eating someone's ass while having my ass eaten with even more things that I'm being demanded to like talk about, where everything just feels like a lose-lose, and it has been for like the last 6 or 8 months, I feel, where if I talk about something, it's a problem. Even if something is cut and dry, as like Cody Ko having sex with a 17-year-old being bad, I caught a lot of shit for that too. I'm sure a lot of people probably didn't see that, but man, the amount of emails I got and a lot of the things I was seeing, even something as cut and dry as that was an issue when I talked about it. And then if I don't talk about something, or if I don't talk about something fast enough in the time that some people think is appropriate, I'm then accused of covering up for something for an ulterior evil motive. So it just really feels like a rock and a hard place where, regardless, it's just going to be a massive flood of negativity. And a huge critique of me that I've always seen is Charlie's a fence sitter. He's just a fucking fence-sitting, enlightened centrist cuck, this and that. And I've always said for the entire time I've been on the internet, I'm not special. I'm literally just a normal guy who got very lucky. I just sit here, joke about shit, talk about my opinion on things, and nothing else. I don't have a unique perspective on things. I don't have deep insight into the vicissitudes of certain things. I am literally just a guy...
Vicissitudes? I don't even know what vicissitude is. I'm going to have to Google that later.
...who yaps, has some fun, talks about shit, does some wacky stuff as well, and that's it. It's just not that deep. But because everything is so inflammatory and charged online, it's being perceived in the last, I'd say like the last 2 years, it's really popped off as me making deliberate attempts to appease both sides and play right down the middle to soak up as much as possible. Like, it's all this like nefarious scheme where I'm doing this with my hands. And I just don't understand how it's become so incendiary, where that's apparently like a really bad thing now. My opinion is not special, and my opinion isn't one that's pandering to any sides or catering to anything. It's literally just whatever's up here. I sit down for like 30 to 45 minutes on like a topic or like a video that I'm joking around about, and I talk about it. I am legitimately just an average, well, below average height guy who's about to turn 30. I'm not just spitting hot takes out the wazoo here. I'm just being myself. That's all this channel ever has been. And now it's become super controversial to do that if it's not like, you know, picking sides on everything, it seems. And it's very frustrating. For the longest time, it was just me having fun. And for the most part, it still is. But I've started to recognize over the last few months that some of the things I do just really aren't fun for me to do, and I've been doing them out of obligation. Mainly internet drama. When I initially started covering drama so many years ago now, it was fun, because it wasn't as serious. Like, the stories were a lot, more quirky. It was easy to get invested because it was kind of just like a soap opera, like a really dumb soap opera. But recently it's been much more serious, and I feel the need to talk about these things because a lot of them are extremely serious with very important topics to discuss. But it has become draining. As much as I never wanted to admit it, I've started to recognize that my mood is immediately impacted by whatever I read on Twitter in the morning. If that's some...
Man, you do get burnouts on social media and stuff besides like Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. I felt that a few times, so...
stuff about a creator or what have you, it immediately affects my entire day and my whole outlook on the day. Now I know, call the wambulance, get some french fries, just fucking whining about having to talk about drama. What a stupid problem to be upset about. But I'm just trying to explain that it hasn't been as fun recently. It hasn't. And the main thing, if you've been around the channel for a while, is I've always wanted this to be fun and never feel like a job. And as hard as it is for me to admit this, a lot of this kind of stuff, it has just started to feel like less fun and more of, well, gotta do this because I'm expected to. Like, anytime I go live, most of chat is just telling me about the latest in whatever's happening in the creator space or some other, like, extremely negative thing going on. And it's like, okay, well, I'm going to have to learn all about that once I turn stream off. So then I spend a few hours learning about these things, and it's all just really upsetting stuff. Like, it's not happy. It's all very sad, bad stuff. And it's been making me not happy. So I definitely think I'll be slowing down on covering internet-related drama or, like, drama in general. I'll still talk about, like, really wacky stories and shit like that, but I definitely think I'm going to be pumping the brakes on, like, the kind of drama I have been covering recently. And instead, I'm going to go back to focusing on the content that I'm most happy with. Like, if you ask me what content I'm most proud of throughout my entire time on this platform for the last, like, 17, 18 years, none of it would be drama coverage. It'd be things like Skynut. It'd be things like shooting a potato at a tennis racket to see if you can make french fries in midair by frying them in hot oil. It's shit like that. And I think I'm going to go back to that kind of stuff.
As long as it's not like the do perfect stuff. If it's like that or I did a thing, Again, if you were middle school, high school, or community college, that'd be a big thing to focus on. But for me, that's uninteresting.
As opposed to the direction that I have been going recently. So, yeah, this was a lot to go over here, but I hope this has cleared everything up. And, yeah, that's really about it. So, yeah.
Oh. I'm surprised you didn't show that other one. I found it on Twitter X. I know I did. If I could find that one, I'll leave the thought thing about this. What's it called? The content in the description box below, the Twitter X post that sneko put on there in the description box. But I'll see you in a second because I still want to get my thoughts, views, and opinions on the other one that he didn't show. It was a second video. I know that's out there, it didn't show. And so I found both of the video posts as dude did a sneko update. So this is the one he didn't want you to see, but I haven't seen it yet. So let's go.
You could take hormone blockers, you could take puberty blockers, okay, when you're a child. When you're 16, you can go change your gender, but you can't get married? Why is that?
Yeah, that's a fair point. As much as I don't want to admit
I don't know. I feel like that's a pretty obvious question.
No, it's not.
It's
not. See, if you cut your penis off, like Chris and Mr. Beast, if you cut your penis off, that is a life-altering decision. You can't glue it back on. You can get divorced if you get married. This is a commitment that you're taking.
Fair too.
A child.
I would massively agreed on that, both of those. This Muslim Middle Eastern thing, though, I disagree with. But some of the conservative parts, I do agree with, to a certain extent.
Based off the liberal point of view that you believe in, they can have gender surgery.
MoistCritikal
They can change
liberal.
forever. Do you believe that somebody can go through hormone therapy? Can they change their gender if they're a child?
I think that's totally fine as long as everyone is consenting.
Okay, so as long as everyone...
Parents?
Chad, this...
No.
Oh, this scene is so cooked, man. These YouTubers and these streamers and just this gaming community, man, it's just so different than what it used to be. And this world is changing. I don't like any part of this shit, man.
No,
How could he say that sentence out loud? Irreversible changes to the body as a child, as long as they have consent from the parents. As far as this guy Critical is concerned. What?
Are
That's
okay with it,
definitely
and you are okay with it. I think that's totally the same.
There was another post I saw too, but then sneko, you start talking about the jabs and the schemes and he started being really anti, schematics on that stuff, so I couldn't watch it, but I'll leave the post down below. He made a good ass point there. This young kid, sneko, I know he does that whole rage baiting, like political left right paradigm, like grifting shit, but he's got a good head on his shoulders. Real good ass on his shoulders, yeah. That's all I can say for now, man. I massively, billion% disagree with him on that. Irreversible shit, that HRT stuff that you take forever, you give that to your own child. Thank God I'm not a father. As if I was a dad, there's no way in hell I give that to any of my future children. Hell to the freaking no. And that's not even me being a Christian evangelical conservative or trying to be Muslim or any of that stuff, those beliefs and ideology. But that shit's, once it's gone forever. That's when, I'm going to say it's self-mutilation, but I heard the people that are like transgender, some they wish they would never did that thing. Thoughts, views, opinions on me personally, it's bad. It's a bad after world of living. Look at the Olympic thing that happened last week. That was really bad. The mockery of the whole Last Supper, where Jesus was taking all the, like with the 12 disciples doing the last final supper, and then the drag queens, transgenders, they start messing that shit up, and 2-3 little kids are around there. What in the hell is going on with this fallen planet, bro? I thought the United States and Canada were the only 2 countries that acted like that. I had no idea Paris, France was like that, just all out in the open like that. We are living in some seriously last final truths and revelations, trials and tribulations times. That's why next year, for sure, you're not even going to hear me talking about video game music or video game industry news anymore. I'm not going to talk about everything super political, but there was another video content place. It was called Nebula. I might start uploading my commentary, blogs, and videos on there instead of YouTube, because it's starting to become censorship central. But just in case you don't believe me, there was another thing on here. It had like the little Jewish flag thing on there. I'm not going to play it, but I'll leave the link in the description box down below. I watched it on my own time. He said some really good inside shit there. The only thing I don't like that he does is he pushes a lot of this crypto NFT currency scam shit. This is the one here. I liked it. And I don't like the whole red pill, blue pill shit, but this shit was legit here, man. Really legit. You guys gotta listen to it. I'll let you listen.
You're gonna say it's all controlled by the Zionists, right?
Did you think that's wrong? I want to cut my penis off. If I'm 16, I can go right into the clinic, snip it off, but I'm not allowed to marry. That's a society that makes sense to you? Do you know who controls Hollywood, who pushed this narrative?
I know where you're going with it. You're gonna say it's all controlled by the Zionists, right?
Did you think that's wrong?
I don't think there's a secret Zionist agenda that controls the entire world.
It's actually not secret at all. They boast about it. Do you know who owns Pornhub, for example?
MindGeek.
MindGeek. You know who controls MindGeek?
Couldn't tell you.
A rabbi. You know who controls the music industry?
Who?
All Zionists. That's how you get this.
Spot on. Preach, sneko. Preach. I never thought in a million years I agree with him on that, because a few months ago I know I was laughing on him in May. It's August now. And him getting his teeth knocked out by a security guard. And that was really bad in his part. But you know what? Hey, this young kid, he's got a bright future ahead of him, man. Even though he's trying to be like an Andrew Tate, Tristan K clone, which I disagree with massively, immensely. But at the same time, well, dude, this dude's cooked, man. I feel like he might be a YouTuber industry plant, honestly. That's no good. Yeah, so, that's super extra sad, bro. That really is. So, if any of my younger subscribers, Gen Zers especially, more than Gen Alpha, if you're following this dude, Penguins, Charlie, MoistCritikal, Penguin Zero, just unsubscribe to the dude straight up, man. Because that one I didn't know. He was super pro, small hat people with that shit. No offense, I'm not trying to say every Jewish Israeli person is a real evil person that worships the devil, satanic stuff, panic. I'm not trying to bring that stuff back. But a lot of them, they do own a lot of these billion-dollar corporations. Look at the fuck who owns Microsoft, Apple, Google, Amazon, Samsung. All those places are run by a lot of small hat people. I believe that 1,000,000,000%. I don't care if I'm a tinfoil hat. I don't care if I get made fun of, laughed on the internet. I do watch a lot of BitChute stuff. I don't believe everything BitChute has or Brighteon or Rumble has, but some of the shit hits the nail on the head big time. Anyways, that's all I guess for now, man. Peace out. Stay cautious. Sneko's got a good future ahead of him. As long as he doesn't do that cryptocurrency NFT shit, I know he still does that. He's a little bit of a slimy scumbag for that shit, but I'll agree with the rest of the lot of us compared to Moist, man. Yeah, at this point, just like Asmongold, I'm very, very close on the brink of unsubscribing to this dude. Man, I know he was mainly a comedy skit, like, sort of like D-bag on the internet. He only did a lot of this stuff for Halo and all this other thing. Shout out to my boy, Jailbreak Overlander, Rich from Boston. He called his ass out, too, for being a little bit of a snarky little POS. I don't like that. Sneko, you know what? I'm not going to say Sneko for president, but Sneko for maybe vice president. Alright, I'll talk to you guys soon. Take it easy, goodbye. I'm out. See you next time. Take care. Easy everyone later. See you next week's commentary. I'm out here.